Hello, friends. It's been a while since I have been on here. And we're going to talk about that today. And we're going to talk about what life has been doing to me and what I've been dealing with and going through and why I haven't been on here um, as much. Sorry, got one of my little kitties right down here and she's just. I haven't even been able to spend time with my cats. Like, I've just been sick. Um, So I had a work event that went really good. Um, and it took a lot out of me, and I've been sick since then. It's my liver. A lot of you know that I have cirrhosis of the liver because of my underlying disease. And I just don't have an appetite. I don't want to eat anything. Um, my stomach hurts. Like, my liver is really inflamed and swollen, and I'm just uncomfortable. Um, I've lost quite a bit of weight since the work event, and so that's only been about a month ago now. That was at the end of February, beginning of March, and it's been hard. Took vacation and was sick all vacation. I woke up yesterday morning for the first time in a month and had an appetite. Like, my stomach was growling. I was hungry. Um, and I had taken something to help with that. And so I was really grateful. I was grateful for that. Um, but I was able to eat yesterday and I didn't get sick. However, today my stomach is hurting and I'm just not real comfortable. But I don't feel low on energy like I have been feeling. Um, and so it's been really hard lately. And that's why I haven't been on here. Because I've been so preoccupied with what's going on in my life with my health and things of that nature. And so I don't know that I'm back, but I'm here today. And so we're going to make the most of it. And I'm going to share a little bit with y'all, not a little bit, I'm going to share with y'all what I've been going through the past month. Um, so it's an attack. It's always an attack. And I know it's an attack. Um, but I think that attacks should almost be called opportunities, because when we go through trials or when a trial comes, we're like, man, like, we get that dread and that anxiety and we're like, oh, what is going to happen? What is this going to do? How is this going to play out? Um, and I think that they should be called opportunities, because I know for me, I look back on my life and every trial that I have been through, I have grown from. And I have become a better version of myself. Does that mean that I like them? No. Does that mean that I want to keep having trials? No. But I'm much more grateful for them now than I was at the beginning of my walk. Because at the beginning of my walk, I didn't understand the trials. I didn't understand the testing. I didn't understand why I needed endurance. Like, I didn't understand these things. And as I've grown and matured as a Christian, or as a Christ follower, I have seen where these things are extremely valuable. And there are some testings that we have been through that have been really scary and really hard. But I would go back and I would do it all over again, because of either the lives that it touched, the ministry that it created, it led somebody to God. Whatever it was, there was something good in that. And so when I got sick about a month ago, right before I got sick, I was really struggling. I was really struggling with my faith. And I was struggling I felt like there was this distance between me and God. I'm so sorry. And I felt this distance, and I felt like we weren't connected. I did not feel like God was gone. And I say that because very early in my walk, when I would go through trials or things would happen, I would be like, God, where are you? And I would cry out because I didn't feel him. I didn't feel him with me. I didn't feel like he was there. I just didn't feel him. And so that's why I say that, because my walk and my relationship with him has grown immensely. And so about a month ago, when all this first started, or right before I got sick and all this started, I just felt like there was a disconnect. Like maybe there were some things in my life that I needed to look at that may have been hindering my relationship with God. And I think that as a Christ follower, we have to do that on a regular basis, because our flesh is weak and our flesh is prone to sin. And so we have to continually keep striving and keep working at, doing what God asks us to do. And I just felt distant. I felt like he was there, but there was something in my life that was between us. And so the Feast of Unleavened Bread was coming up, and that is a really good time to reflect. And so the Feast of Unleavened Bread, obviously we don't eat anything that has leaven in it. And the behind the scene of that, what we're doing is we are really ridding ourselves of anything. Like, where's the leaven in us? This is the threshing floor. If you don't know, go read Ruth. That's where she went to Boaz, was on the threshing floor. The threshing floor is where they separate the wheat from the chaff. That's where they take it. That's where it's separated. And that's what I wanted walking into the Feast of Unleavened Bread, that feast week. I wanted God to separate me from whatever sin, whatever between me and him that was not pure, that was not good. I needed him to clean that out. And I was praying for that. And there's a song called Threshing Floor. And I was listening to that. Like, that was my anthem. And I was like, okay, God. And then I just felt this, like, it was like the more physically sick I got, the more I felt this distance between me and God. I was like, I don't understand it. I don't understand why I'm this sick. I don't understand. Usually my flare-ups only last for 2 weeks. We're going into week 3. This was in the middle of it. And I'm like, we're going into week 3. And I'm thinking I'm going to have a conversation with people at my job. And I might have to take, a leave of absence. And, I'm thinking about all these things. Because I'm thinking, well, if this doesn't calm down, what am I going to do? I can't work. Like, literally, I could just be in the bed. That's all I could do. And it was hard. And it's hard for me because I'm a workaholic, and I'm trying to get over that. And I am working on myself in that area, because that's not good either. And so, I was really getting more distant from him. And I could feel it, and I didn't know what to do about it. And I kept quiet, and every now and then, like, y'all, when I say that I felt so distant from God, I did not even want to open my Bible and read it. On the moments that I could open my eyes and I could see and I could do something, I didn't even want to read my Bible. And so I'm struggling, and I'm feeling far from God, and I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And so I would do things like force myself to listen to praise and worship music. I would carry my Bible with me everywhere. I have been in that habit anyway. But even if I wasn't reading it, I would like pull it out, and I would just open it, and I would just have it sitting open. And I would literally have to tell myself, just read one verse. Okay. Okay, I read that verse. Okay, read another verse. Okay, let me read another verse. And I was struggling. I've never in since I came back to God and really dove into being a Christ follower and really what God has for my life, I've never had a moment where I felt far from him. And it kind of scared me a little bit. And I was like, what if I never get this desire back? What if I never desire to be in communion with God again? And it made me so sad. And I didn't know what to do with these. And I'm taking them to God, but I'm not really taking them to God. And typically me and God are having conversations throughout the whole day, and now everything's just dead stopped. And I'm like, okay, I know that the enemy, that this is a trial. I know it is. The enemy's attacking me. My body is sick. I'm physically sick. Mentally, I'm just not where I need to be. Spiritually, I feel so isolated, and I feel so lonely and so far from God. And I've got all these things playing out in my head, and I finally, and this is why our husbands are so important. As husband and wife, me and Reggie, we are one person. And so if there is something that he is struggling in, I'm struggling in it. And vice versa. If I'm struggling, he's going to struggle. God made us as women with specific, special duties that only we can do. Just like he created men to do only what they can do. And my husband is a strong rock for me every time I need him. He takes care of me. He cleans the house. He cooks the meals. He cleans up every time I get sick. Like, I could not ask for a kinder, more beautiful caretaker of me. He loves me so well. And earlier when I said all those nights that I would cry out to God and be like, God, where are you? I don't feel you. I feel that love physically of God through my husband. He serves me so well. That does not mean that our relationship is perfect, nor has it always been perfect. We're on year 18, I believe. And we have gone through it. But because we went through it and we never gave up on each other, we have this beautiful relationship now. And we have prayed over each other, and we have fought over each other, and we have cried over each other. Y'all, if you are married, cherish your husband. Be a godly wife, because just as it's as important for him to be strong for me when I need him and to be the leader, he cannot do that if I am not being a praying wife. And so I had to apologize to my husband. I was like, I am so sorry, because I have been so sick and I've been so distant from God. I'm not even praying over you right now. And I pray the armor of God over my husband every day. It's important. He needs to be protected. I think sometimes we forget that our husbands are people. And when they mess up or when they do something wrong, we like to, as women, we like to go man bashing, and we like to be down on them. I don't want somebody to treat me like that. So I'm not going to treat my husband like that. My husband is a beautiful, broken person, just like I am. And we are beautifully broken together. And that is okay. I wouldn't want to do life with anybody else. So a couple nights ago, I'm trying to talk to him about it. And I'm going to share this with y'all, because y'all need to know that this could have gone one of two ways. And this is how we've grown. And this is what I want for other married couples, is to learn how to communicate. My husband was struggling with some stuff mentally. I was struggling mentally. And usually he's glass half empty and I'm glass half full. And so we pour into each other. And I couldn't be that. I couldn't be glass half full because I was so sad and I didn't know why I was sad. And I didn't know what was happening, and I'm far from God, and I don't think I'm going to get that back. And I've been so sick, and my husband's having to do everything, and I've got all this stuff. He was having a hard day too. And I was just sad and didn't know why. And I just needed somebody to love me. He couldn't do it at that moment. One, because I didn't communicate with him. But two, the enemy was trying to get in between us. And he was trying to get, because my husband's worked up and now you're worked up and y'all don't work well when y'all are both worked up because somebody's going to pop off and say something they shouldn't say. And that was the old us. The new us, I sat here and my flesh started off, really just need him to be understanding and just to love me right now. And then very quickly, I said, hang on. I'm not the only one that has a bad day. He has bad days too. And that's okay. And I'm going to have my bad day and he's going to have his bad day, but we're going to come back together in this. And so we went to bed not angry. We weren't upset with each other. We just were both very quiet. And we went to bed and we got up the next day. And sometimes it just takes time just to sort things out in your head before you can speak to somebody. And I used to have a real problem with that because I'm the type of person that if there's an issue, let's fix it right now. And my husband was the type of person where there's an issue, he needs to take a minute to level himself and get his thoughts together before he approaches it. And so I would used to badger him. Oh, let's fix it right now. Let's fix it right now. He can't function that way. So you have to learn how to compromise in the relationship. And so one of the things that I've learned is whenever things feel tense or they get thick between us, we just kind of both take our time and we sit back and maybe we reflect or maybe we get into God's word or have conversations with God or whatever. But we usually just let it sit. And the very next morning he comes to me and he's like, I'm sorry if I came across as, I wasn't wanting to be there for you because that wasn't the case. And I knew that wasn't the case. And I said, well, I'm sorry because I couldn't express to you what I needed and how I was feeling. And so that night I kind of word vomited all over him because I was able to kind of collect my thoughts. And I was like, this is what I've been dealing with. And this is what I've been going through. Why I wouldn't have told him this from the very beginning so that he could be praying over me like, hello, why wouldn't I have said that to him? But so often we think, well, it's my problem. I have to fix it. Well, one of the biggest things that my husband does for me is pray over me. So why, when it's like this, why would I not have him pray over me? And so I'm talking to him and I'm like, I just don't understand why I can't break through, and I don't understand why I don't feel God anymore. And it's just I'm so sad. I'm so sad that I know that God's here, but I just don't feel him. I just don't feel him. And I know it's an attack, and I know the enemy's trying to attack me, and I know he's trying to get me off course, and he's trying to distract me. Like, I know these things. And I said, I just can't get through it. So my husband, being the amazing person that he is, finds a sermon by Charles Stanley that talks about wavering faith. And we're listening to the sermon, and God is just speaking right to my heart. There were a lot of tears that night. We paused the sermon, I don't know, maybe about halfway through. And my husband was like, oh, listen to this song. And so then we start playing some praise and worship music. It ended up being a beautiful night of breakthroughs and understanding and love. And I felt like I got my connection back. We dug into scripture, and that's what I'd like to share with y'all. You know, it's important for us to get and to be in God's Word all the time. It's even more important to be in God's Word when we're hurting or when things aren't going the way that we want it to. And so that's one of the things that I love so much about my husband. He is always in the Word, and he is always cross-referencing, and he's always trying to piece things together in the Bible so that we can understand them correctly. Because there's a lot of that in the mainstream church. There is a lot of misconception about what the Bible truly says. And so in the midst of me having this, he had shared some verses with me. And one of the verses was in Isaiah, and he was like, there's this cross reference. The cross reference, and I'm just going to show y'all this. The cross reference ended up being on this page. I know it's backwards, but it says trust. And this was a journaling that I did a long time ago in my old Bible. Like, it just got transferred into this one. But in Psalm 57, verse 7, the verse is, my heart is steadfast, O God. My heart is steadfast. All the verses that I had read, every time I picked up the Bible and just opened it and would just read this verse, read that verse. Even when he was sharing with me, he shared with me probably about 10 cross references to this verse in Isaiah. And out of all the verses I read, like, nothing was touching me. Nothing was pulling me to where I needed to be until I hit Psalm 57:7. My heart is steadfast, O God. My heart is steadfast. That was all I could say. And when I read that, I knew in that moment, this is the verse that's going to get me through this. And this was before the breakthrough. This was before I had my conversation with my husband. This was before all of that. I said, this is the verse that's going to get me through. And so for the rest of that time, I knew God was there, but I didn't feel him. And so I would just, every time, God, my heart is steadfast. God, my heart is steadfast. And what I was saying, God, I can't feel you. I know you're here. I know you're in it. I know you're with me. And I know that this is a test. And I know that this is a trial. And I know that I have to seek you. The breakthrough that I had that night was, why are you focusing on the problem? Why aren't you focusing on God? I was so focused on, why am I getting so sick? Why is this lasting longer than normal? Why am I disconnected from God? Why do I not feel him? Why am I not making bigger breakthroughs? Why is this happening? Why is it? Why is it? Why is it? That was all I was doing. I had lost sight of my God. And when you lose sight of God, it's easy to focus on everything around you that is wrong, or going wrong, or gonna be wrong, or could be wrong. God very lovingly and graciously reminded me that my focus should be on him, not the waves, not the wave of sickness, not the wave of dying, not the wave of stress at work, not the wave of lost friendships, not the wave of feeling disconnected, not the wave of the enemy's attack, not the wave of what this person said, not the wave of the gossip, not the wave. That's how many of us. When I walk out on my patio and I look at the ocean, we've had some huge waves the past couple days, which I love. And that's mostly because there's been storms and there's been wind and there have been things that make the waves bigger. Circumstances in our lives make the waves bigger. Sometimes they're just these little waves, and sometimes they're these big crashing waves that we feel like they're consuming us. But our focus has to stay on God, and that's what he taught me. It doesn't matter. And I've been there with God a million times, and I've faced death, and I've stared it right in the face and said, my God is bigger. And this hurts, and this sucks, but I'm making it. And I did. And I did because God needed me to do that. That was God's will. It's also his will that we stay focused on him. My heart is steadfast, O God. My heart is steadfast. And I would just tell him that over and over again. God, my heart is steadfast on finding you again. My heart is steadfast on reconnecting with you again. I will not go back to my old self. I will not go back to who I used to be. No matter what, I will not. I will be faithful and I will be strong and I will get through this no matter how much it sucks. Am I going to die one day? Absolutely. We all are. Will mine be sooner than others? I don't know. But I know I am so grateful for every moment that I have. I'm grateful that I can love on people and that I can encourage people and that I can be kind to people. Y'all, that's a blessing. Who wants to sit around in a gossip train talking about everybody and not cheering for the next person? How miserable. I don't want to be that. I want to be the person that is genuinely happy for others. And you know what's sad? In today's society, when you're like that, people automatically think that you're fake because they don't understand how anybody could be happy for somebody else. That's really sad. Focus on God. Stop focusing on the problem in front of you. Stop focusing on what you don't have or they said or this person did or whatever. Stop it. Every time you start to think about that, my heart is steadfast, oh God. My heart is steadfast. Psalm 57:7. My heart is steadfast. Be steadfast through that trial. And if that's the only thing you can pray, that's okay. And if you need encouragement, if you need help, if you need guidance, if you just need somebody to listen, reach out. Reach out to someone, to me, somebody. But don't do it alone. You're not alone. No matter what. Have a great week.